I believe you need to have a critical mindset and be someone who can think for themselves before you can actually understand Bitcoin. Bitcoin is global, yes, but it empowers us to improve our local lives. If each of us sees the mission and puts some time and energy in this direction, it can have like a crazy, tremendous impact and we can free ourselves from slavery.
Hello, Kyle. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Barbara.
Let me start with our usual question. What was your orange pill moment?
Well, I tend to, like, whenever someone asks me that, I tend to think that it started it really was way before the actual moment when I bought Bitcoin for the first time, because I believe you need to have a critical mindset and be someone who can think for themselves before you can actually understand Bitcoin. So in my mind, I always say it was 9/11 when those planes flew into that building. I was 7 years old, and my whole childhood, it was just like everything changed. The world changed. We had longer lines at TSA. We had wars going on. The price of inflation was rising during these years. And I was always growing up kind of like, what is happening? And when I figured out that it wasn't just 19 hijackers from some cave in the Middle East that executed this, and that there was huge, powerful entities that are orchestrating some of these false flag events, boom, my mind opened and it led me down just the conspiracy rabbit hole of like everything we're being taught in school is a lie. Maybe it's different over there in Europe. Maybe you guys have, more truthful education, but here it's just we're force fed such nonsense. And so I was always sort of skeptical, open-minded, a conspiracy person. And when COVID happened, my treasury of the United States sent me a check saying, here's $1,400. Just, here you go. Here's some money. And I had a full-time job. I was not unemployed. It was just kind of strange for me at the time. So I got a Robinhood account and I bought Bitcoin for the first time. And I had no idea what I owned. I bought Ethereum and all these other shit coins that ended up losing me a lot of money. And basically, yeah, just that was kind of the journey, how it began. I became curious about it, wanted to learn more. And yeah, the journey just keeps going, I guess.
So then how did you end up with the documentary? I know that you just recently been to Bulgaria and you started to shoot a documentary. How did you come up with the idea? What was the journey up until then?
Yeah, so I just knew I was a co-founder of a supplement company. I was working in the fiat sort of like consumer products industry. Um, and I had this deep sense inside of me that if I wasn't doing that, I would be doing something with Bitcoin. I know how to hold a camera. That's what I've done for many years. I run my own video business and I had sort of given up on that. Like the whole idea of being a creator, being someone who's an artist, financially, it's just so tough, right? So I was just like, you know what? As much as this is my dream to be a documentary filmmaker who goes into nature and captures beautiful stories and is outside. Like this is just the dream for me. So when I left my supplement company, long story short, my business partner and I didn't see eye to eye. We decided to split directions. It was the greatest thing ever for me because it gave me gave me my time back, really, which was the biggest thing. Maybe we can talk more about the value of time, but I started going to Bitcoin events. I saw a tweet on some YouTuber's Twitter account saying, hey, I need a videographer to come with me to El Salvador for the halving party. If you know about Bitcoin, you know what the halving is. It's a big deal. I had never been to a Bitcoin event and boom, I'm thrown into this event where it's all these like legends like BTC sessions, Max Kaiser, who else was there? A bunch of like people that I had listened to on podcasts. All of a sudden I'm like meeting them in person, talking to them, like instantly accelerating like my excitement for becoming like more just part of this community. And so since then, that was like 2 years ago, I've just been traveling, adding value wherever I can through my camera and my editing. And that led me to Bulgaria. So after I went to the halving party, I went to a conference in Bulgaria, made some friends there. And about a year ago, a little bit more now, one of the guys that I connected with, who's the third episode on We Are Satoshi, it's a great episode. His name's Ivan Makedonsky, Bulgarian guy. He reached out and said, do you want to make a movie? And so that's kind of how the story came to be. Just, the universe laying a path in front of me and sort of just me having a sense of like, what do I really want to do with my precious time on this earth? And yeah, that's why I'm here talking to you. So.
Ismered a Firefish-t? Ez egy hitelezési platform, ahol a BTC-det letétbe helyezve eurót, svájci frankot vagy USDC-t vehetsz fel kölcsönként, anélkül, hogy el kellene adnod a bitcoinodat. A használata egyszerű, regisztrálsz, Kiválasztod a kölcsön összegét és futamidejét, és zárolod a BTC-det. A peer-to-peer piactéren egy befektetővel párosít a rendszer, vagy az instant loan opcióval azonnal megkaphatod a pénzt, akár 15 perc alatt. A pénz a tárcádba vagy a bankszámládra érkezik, és a futamidő elteltével a visszafizetés után a bitcoinod automatikusan visszakerül hozzád. Így megtarthatod a bitcoinodat, közben pedig szabad készpénzhez jutsz mindennapi kiadásokra vagy újabb befektetésre. Ha kipróbálnád, a podcast leírásában megtalálod a linkünket, és ha ezen keresztül regisztrálsz, akkor egy üdítő árával támogatod a csatornát. What is the central narrative or message that you want the audience to take from your documentary?
For sure. So it's going to be called Build on Bitcoin, the Bulgarian Journey. And the idea is that there's so many people who are Bitcoin holders that are very passionate about Bitcoin. We understand that it can change the world and make life better, but we don't actually use Bitcoin. We don't spend it. We don't build on Bitcoin. We're not really, like many of us, at least the situation I was in is I'm just listening to podcasts, I'm reading books, but my life is the same. I'm going through normie world and it's tough. At a certain point, there's this friction. So a lot of people want to move more time and energy into the Bitcoin industry, into the Bitcoin world, but they just don't know how. So I basically traveled all over Bulgaria, meeting different Bitcoin builders. And the word builder, it doesn't translate very well in Bulgarian, so maybe won't translate well. But the idea is somebody who's an entrepreneur, just not even an entrepreneur, just somebody who's taking action, starting a community meetup, Bitcoin walk, like mining Bitcoins with their solar off grid, raising cows in, regenerative ways. So many different stories. So the ultimate goal is to inspire more people to think, I want to be a builder. I want to get in the game. And ultimately my producer, Ivan, has this line. He says, one builder can have more impact than 100 hodlers. So that's kind of the thing we aligned on.
I mean, that's what we are also trying to inspire people to do with this podcast as well, especially in the Hungarian community, because there are many builders as well. It doesn't translate like that, but yeah, even in Hungarian, when we talk about like entrepreneurs, it's more of in Hungarian we rather say like the word rather translate to volunteers. So like you kind of like volunteer your time, your efforts, and then you try to create something or make something. And then with the podcast, we try to make it accessible to everyone to listen to podcasts in our native language. And in our shop, they can pay with Bitcoin. And most of the events that we are organizing, we try to aim to venues where you can pay with Bitcoin. Because of course, like you would want to build generational wealth with Bitcoin, but you need to encourage people to spend it as well. Yeah, so like it's very interesting. I'm very interested about like the Bulgarian Bitcoin community as well, because I don't know much about it, to be honest. So it will be when is it coming out? Can you tell us like more about like?
Yes, you just brought up so many good things there. The film should be out. I'm working on editing it, and I'm actually going to Kenya to film another documentary in like a week or two. So it's going to be realistically May probably when the film is out. But yeah, you just got me so excited. We'll have to connect the Bulgarian and Hungarian community at some point in the future. There's generally like I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a Balkans conference in Bulgaria where the Bulgarians basically invited like as many Balkan countries as possible. Is Hungary a Balkan country?
No, but
okay.
we are close, pretty close.
Maybe
but
Turkey was there. One guy from Turkey was there. But the idea is like connecting Eastern Europe and just like having the Bitcoin network be like these circular economies, connecting them. So people, I learned so much on this film, and you just like triggered a couple thoughts. But all of our efforts actually, like when you are building on Bitcoin, support one another. So if you're building on Bitcoin in Hungary, I'm here in Seattle, we don't know each other. We're on the same team. We're both doing the same thing. And actually, in some way, our efforts are like amplifying one another. And we saw this firsthand in Bulgaria, where like I would be on one side of the country at a restaurant, and it was just this one example comes to mind. But the restaurant we go to, we want to talk to them about paying with Bitcoin. We tip them in Bitcoin, and then I see a sticker, and it's the brand of a company of another guy in the film who has a Bitcoin restaurant services company. So they had already onboarded them to their restaurant services, not like just Bitcoin, like, hey, like table reservations and just basic restaurant services like takeout and delivery. And then it was much easier for us when we had that conversation to say to the owner of the restaurant, hey, you can just make a few switches in your settings of the app that you already use, and boom, you're accepting Bitcoin straight to your self custodial wallet. So that type of thing is super exciting. And so I'm just excited to bridge the gap between you guys.
Yeah, that's I mean, like, to be honest, Hungary is kind of, it's always in a weird opposition, to be honest. We are in Eastern Europe, but we call ourselves Central Europe. We are kind of close to the Balkan in culture, but we are not Balkan. Our language is kind of like not similar to anything around us, so it's yeah, it's quite different. But like, as you said, that we approach Bitcoin from a different angle as well, because I think Hungarians discover Bitcoin through being oppressed by the government, or like experiencing all these like limitations. And to be honest, like, Hungarian culture is also like, we have this deeply engraved thing that we need to find the loopholes in everything. So if you have like if you have like a loophole in a law, then for sure, like, Hungarian people will abuse that until they change the law.
Hey, it's the same in Bulgaria. I respect it because where I'm from, like people follow the rules. It's like if I'm selling you a car, for example, and like we have to report the sale of the car, like how much was the sale. If we report more, we pay the government more. If we report less, we pay the government less. Me and this person we can agree on whatever. And I've had people, give me a hard time with that here in the States. And when I brought that up in Bulgaria, they're like, "Oh no, everybody knows. Like we're on the same page. Like
Yeah.
life is hard enough. Like it's you have to figure things out for yourself. Whereas here, like I feel like we're a little bit more coddled, right? Like we got a $1,400 check from the government. What is that? Like I don't know if that happened in Hungary, but yeah, I'm curious because Bulgaria just adopted the euro. Has Hungary pushed that off, or have you adopted the euro?
No, we haven't. Like, I don't think that every economy should adopt the euro, to be honest. In Hungary, the government actually abused this, and it was not really great for the people, because since we didn't adopt euro, then they didn't have to actually like follow the same inflation rate. So the inflation is higher, and therefore they could use like inflate more of the Hungarian like currency, the Hungarian forint, and then get like more out of their money. But yeah, I don't think that going forward we should, to be honest, adopt the euro in general. I don't think we will, so, unless it's forced. But of course, like, the European Union comes with like many great advantages. So if it's like one trade-off that people have to live with, then probably it will be. But I think we have bigger problems right now than the adoption of euro. So
For sure. For sure. Yeah. No, we saw a couple protests in Bulgaria and got to talk to them. So that's part of the film, is us bumping into these guys and realizing they're protesting the euro. We're out here making a film about Bitcoin. Like we're pretty much doing the same thing, just from different angles. And from the Bitcoin lens, it's like, hey, they just haven't quite figured it out yet. So yeah, I'm just curious, like generally, I've also been to Budapest before. Beautiful place. Had a great time there.
what do you think of the like the currency conversation in general? Do you think that like Bulgaria should have not adopted the euro, or like what was like the protesters' angle?
Yeah, I mean, they're giving up their sovereign currency and now their currency is controlled by Brussels. So like just on the face of it, like that sucks, right? Like their currency was pegged 1 to 1, so they didn't experience the inflation it sounds like that Hungary did. Um, so yeah, they lost the lever, the lion they call it. And but then on the other side, like some of the Bitcoiners are like, who cares? Fiat, it's fiat currency. Like fiat is fiat. Like if you're a Bitcoiner, it doesn't really matter. For some business owners, it makes it easier to do business across borders. Like for the restaurant services guys, like they're making payments. They have investors outside of Bulgaria, so using the euro is more frictionless. So I could see it both ways, but I generally tend to think that centralization is not going to lead to more freedom and prosperity for the people, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. And how did your like previously, like earlier, you said something about time. Like, how did becoming a Bitcoiner change your like experience of time, or like your how you valued your time?
Well, we hear this idea of like low versus high time preference, right? I was having a conversation about this. There's this idea that was pushed through, at least in the US, like the Keynesian economics view, which is like, in order for our economy to grow, we need to have an increased supply of currency to just like grease the wheels, to increase the velocity of money, to make sure people are spending. And I was kind of explaining to him, I'm like, even if that didn't exist in a Bitcoin world, like people would still spend money. People are still going to buy food. They're going to buy clothes. They're going to pay rent. Like they're going to spend money every single day. It's not going to change. It's going to change their time preference and how they spend their money. So on the face of it, if you know you have this asset that is increasing in purchasing power over time, the trade-off cost of anything you buy is significantly higher than if you think, oh man, I'm holding these dollars or this fiat currency. It's a melting ice cube in my hands. Either I buy something like a new car, a new bike, whatever, new watch, or this money is going to be worth less in a year or in a day or whatever. So you're incentivized to spend the money. So what I like experienced becoming a Bitcoiner on that angle is just being more frugal, being more conscious of how I spend my money. Like every dollar is a 1,000 sats. Like it's crazy when you realize how early we are to Bitcoin. We're going to be telling our grandkids, oh yeah, like I spent 30,000 sats on a lunch in Bulgaria one time, and your kid is going to be like, you did what? Like that's my salary this year, Dad. You spent that on a salad. So when you understand like just how crazy it is, but then there's the conversation of like you still have to live life, right? So it's that's on the surface level, and let me take it one step deeper. Bitcoin actually reinvented time. I'm not sure if you've explored this rabbit hole much, but like Satoshi created a new way of measuring time with the blocks, right? So you have like the
Oh
block
yeah,
height.
the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So every 10 minutes, give or take, there's a new Bitcoin block. And you can actually, instead of looking at the history and being like, oh, X event, let's say JFK's assassination happened on whatever, November 22nd, 1963. Who knows, like in foreign history, that could be manipulated. Like information can be changed, history can be molded to change like how we believe what we are as humans. And actually, it can be used as a tool to control us. Whereas with Bitcoin, it's an immutable ledger. You put information into block 900,000. We just passed a million blocks, I believe. No, almost. That information will be there forever. And also, it will give you a 100% verifiable time that information was put into the block, right? And you can forever in history like trust that this block is increasing in time. So it gives us like a foundation for understanding time in a different way, in a finite way, versus infinitely in like a discrete way versus an indiscrete way. So basically, it leads to all of science, all of everything we know about the world potentially coming into question. And there's a new research paper out basically saying that Bitcoin is the first quantum computer, and that the entire quantum idea that quantum is going to break Bitcoin is fundamentally flawed. And the entire, like literally the entire quantum physics industry is a fraud. Like it doesn't, it's all leading to a direction that will never yield any positive results, because it's fundamentally misunderstanding this like time element. And I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this, so maybe I can send you the article. But basically, like on a very deep level, like this Satoshi's invention of time is going to allow humanity to build on a solid foundation, not only in understanding history, but in scientific studies and understanding everything. So that's a long answer.
But I loved your answer, to be honest. I have many things to actually go back on because, yeah, when you mentioned the time preference, just yesterday I had a conversation with a friend about like how people are encouraged by, like, let's say the government or like whoever controls money at this point to do escapism and then to spend their money and to nothing, and we are like desensitized by like all these things that like, okay, look at your phone, consume the content, like don't even think about like what is happening around you. And then you have the wars around us, and then it's like you don't even think about like what is going to happen, how it's going to affect you, why is this even happening, do you want to actually participate, like how is the government set up, why is it like so many protests are like, currently I'm in Germany and there are like so many protests happening here, and then it's just it's very funny how every second day the tram drivers are protesting, but like I understand that like they need higher wages, and then they need to have a better quality of life and all these things, but then on the other hand, then these people are probably like very comfortable in a society which takes care of them a lot, and then it's like you don't even think about like how you have your own kind of like power to build your life, and then you need to actually take accountability and build your own security and not rely on the government so much, because we are actually on the brink of, I'm not saying any world war or whatever, like we will see like what's going to happen in the next couple of months, but like on the collapse of most of the economies. So like it's kind of funny to, not funny, but like it's interesting to see how like an average person doesn't really think about the bigger picture, and we are just like reacting to what is happening in front of us. And this all ties back to the book called like Brave New World and 1984, because we thought like one or the other are gonna happen, and then it's actually both at the same time. So it's just so fucked up at this point.
Yeah, it's both, because my understanding is like one 1984 is more of like the like Orwellian like control grid that's like forced on us. And 19 and Brave New World is more of, we through pleasure and, we kind of create a prison of ourselves. We police each other's thoughts and all this stuff. Yeah. It is crazy. It's both of it's happening. And yes, we're living through like such crazy times. I was just on a Twitter Spaces yesterday, and I was just like reflecting on the beginning of this war. Like, it was honestly a little emotional, a little stressful for me, because I'm just like, dude, I know how bad wars are. I know, I've studied them. I've watched enough to understand like it's just brutal, and it's like such a bad outcome no matter what. And so for us to get at the United States to get dragged into a war that we have like literally zero benefit in being in, like 100% for Israel, it's just disappointing. But then I realized like, oh, actually, I'm doing everything I can to not everything I can. I could do more. I'm taking my time and energy out of that system and putting it into this system that doesn't bomb kids and that actually makes life better. Like what we were talking about, like it's Jeff Booth's quote I love is like, the Bitcoin free market is 8 billion people in service of 8 billion people. So even if you don't own Bitcoin, your life is getting better because of this system. And so, yeah, just, trying to take hold and like, yeah, the world's crazy, but also all you can do is control your own actions, right? So are you putting more time and energy into which system? Like, you decide, right? And that's to your point, I think like that's where we have the autonomy to figure that out. And yeah, the tram drivers are protesting not having wages. Like, I talked to some people yesterday, they didn't even know what's happening in Iran. They're not even following the news. They're disinterested. And for me, that's crazy, because I'm like, dude, you realize we're paying for this. Like, they're now talking, Trump's going to bring in 2 months, less than 2 months, a new Fed chair. That Fed chair is going to be appointed by Trump. So basically, like, Trump's going to be able to say like, oh, we need 1.5 trillion, $2 trillion for the military. And this guy's going to be like, great, money printer, bazooka time. So it's just, and that is not like, like, yes, that's going to drive the price of Bitcoin up. Like, us Bitcoin holders, like, we're going to see Bitcoin just absolutely, it's going to be crazy. Like, I tend to fall in the camp of like, Bitcoin's price in terms of like fiat currency is going to get like really weird really fast. And like the whole idea of like diminishing returns, like that narrative is going to go away when people realize how scarce this thing is. Like, there's just not enough. So I think it's a tough situation to be in. All we can do is hopefully like what you're doing, what I'm doing. It's the best way to spend our time, is try and get more people on the life raft. It's not just like as an investment, it's truly as like a freedom technology. So that's the narrative that I'm just like really gung ho about right now. And yeah, try to stay optimistic.
Yeah, I think we are like both, to be honest, in this conversation. Yeah, since to be honest, I pretty much changed as a Bitcoiner since I started working in Bitcoin in 2017. And I think earlier I was more on a, let's say, journey to convince people that they should listen and then they should understand like what is going on, and then it's this amazing emotion, and then we need to all invest in it, and then you need to just like buy your freedom. But then at some point I was like, okay, you know what, like if you want to join, this is not a revolution, it's an evolution, and then you can just evolve yourself into it. And then we will see that. If you have questions, I'm here, but then other than that, I am not that passionate freedom fighter for Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah, less of an evangelist. I think we all go through that. We all go through that experience. Like I've talked to so many Bitcoiners that, screaming down the street with a Bitcoin flag, right? Like then it's like, okay, let's slow down. I think I think it's just all about just living a good life. Like, I mean, you make content, you put it out in the world. If that is something that is purposeful for you, other people will attract to that. Like that's why we're having this conversation, because I make content, you make content, we connected. And there's so many other people, maybe one or two people that listen to this might reach out to you or me and say, I love what you said about XYZ. And I say to them, great. Like, oh, you're interested in this and you live here, like, oh, I know someone else who's also there, I can plug you into the Bitcoin community there, whatever it might be. Like it's just a beautiful thing. And so I encourage people. I made a post about this yesterday. Start a Bitcoin podcast if you are. And this came up earlier in my mind when you were talking, but how important it is to have content, Bitcoin content in like Hungarian, Bulgarian, other languages. We take it for granted as English first speakers, is because the white paper is written in English. Like a lot of Bitcoin stuff is written in English, and that's a barrier for people to understand Bitcoin. So a huge character in my film is named George Monolov, and he started a publishing house in Bulgarian. So he would take books like The Bitcoin Standard, Broken Money by Lynn Alden, The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth, and translate them to Bulgarian, publish them in a really nice, obviously he would get the author's permission, and publish them in like a nice hardback book and sell those, and sold thousands and thousands and thousands of copies in Bulgarian. So basically like, I commend you for finding a way to add value like in your local language rather than, try and jump into the broad community. It's like I tend to think like Bitcoin is global, yes, but it empowers us to live like to improve our local lives. And so coming out of Bulgaria, seeing like all this circular economy growing and people building, I'm like, man, we need to do that here in Seattle. So that was my takeaway. Now it's happening. It's like we're doing a little merchant event where we have the Bitcoin walk here. There's like some people we're working on like a cypherpunk institute, eventually, hopefully opening up a physical space. So yeah, I just kind of all over the place here, but back to you. I think I could shut up now.
Uh, to be honest, with BitcoinBázis, like this is a newspaper that is like, so basically we are an online newspaper that is like translating and then writing news about Bitcoin. And then we also did translate a couple of books as well to Hungarian, and it's also published. So yeah, anything that makes Bitcoin accessible for the Hungarian community, we are about that, and we are about to actually launch a meetup series about like Bitcoin and wine. We call wine in Hungarian is bor. So Bitcoin is bor. So it's a bit of like alliteration as well. So we're gonna talk about like the pleasures of life with wine, and then the essentials of life with Bitcoin. So
Sounds incredible. Sounds amazing. I love that.
Tudtad, hogy a Bitcoin-bázisnak van egy saját webshopja is? Na ott tényleg minden megtalálható, ami egy bitcoinernek vagy kriptorajongónak kellhet. Hardware tárcák, könyvek, kiegészítők, meg persze néhány menü ajándék is. Nálunk nem csak forinttal, hanem bitcoinnal és altcoinokkal is fizethetsz teljesen biztonságosan. Ráadásul, ha bitcoinnal fizetsz, automatikusan 10% kedvezményt kapsz. Szóval, ha legközelebb hardware tárcát keresel, vagy meglepnél magad valami kriptós cuccal, nézd be a bitcoinbázis.hu/shop oldalra, mert így nem csak magadnak, hanem a podcastnak is segítesz.
So has your belief about like filmmaking changed when you got to know Bitcoin and then you were immersed more in decentralization?
Great question. I mentioned earlier I gave up on filmmaking. So there's kind of like two layers to this answer. The first is like Bitcoin changed my mindset to realize that it's a viable path. I do not need to start a business and scale it and sell it for millions of dollars to achieve wealth in the future. I can actually just add value, store that value in Bitcoin, repeat. It's that simple. Like it allowed me to like Bitcoin allowed me to go back to doing what I love to do. So there's that element. The second element is how Bitcoin, the community, the industry receives or perceives proof of work versus fiat. In fiat, I've done so many projects where like, oh, it's a cool client. Like maybe if I like lower my rate or do it for free, then like I could build my portfolio and then they'll hire me next year and pay me, or another client. Like there's this idea that like you do free work, you put the proof of work in and it's going to give you a result back. And generally I found that not to be the case. Like I have had plenty of tough experiences. I co-produced a documentary on about a watercolor painter, a British watercolor painter named Tony Foster. And the filmmaker basically like refused to pay us and it was just brutal. And he ended up being like a total sleazebag. I had like a bunch of bad experiences over the years and I just kind of gave up on it. In Bitcoin, it is the opposite. So when you add value to people, they recognize it because we all see, like for you example, like, I don't know how much money you make on your podcast, maybe zero, maybe, I don't know. I don't make any money. I do this out of love. Right. And so other people recognize that and they're like, oh, he's not doing this for like, trying to be like cool or like, get famous, or he's literally just doing it because he loves to do it. And when other people sense that and they see like, wow, he traveled here on his own dollar and is here, like, let me pay him some sats to like shoot some photos. So like I'll be at a conference and people will hire me and send me sats on the spot and stuff like that. And it's just so, it's just a way different way to build a career. Like when you're building a career or like building your network in the Bitcoin space, like it's just, it's far better experience across the board. And I've been just like really, it's remarkable like how positive people like recognize like when you do the proof of work, I guess.
Yeah, like we don't make money on the podcast either. Not
Only
yet.
a few do. Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. But the thing is that like on the long run, I don't think it's about money, to be honest. It's kind of like a sense of purpose as well. And even if I like helped one person, then it's already like worth it. And okay, like we don't see like direct dollars in our bank account, but like for example, if like someone wants to spend their sats and then they see our web shop and then they go there and then they go at least like pay with Bitcoin once, then I might have like a bigger Bitcoin price at the end of the day and then I might be better off. So like it's not really about like making millions of dollars on a podcast like this.
Of course.
I don't. I mean, like at some point,
So
maybe,
I
maybe
have a
in
question.
the
Yeah.
future. Maybe in the future we're gonna do something with the podcast, but I don't think it's gonna bring in the big bucks. To be honest.
Yeah, and like to your point, it's not about bringing in the big bucks. It's incredible how many doors having a podcast will open and how much impact you can have even with a small audience. My YouTube channel is like 500 subs, like, but I know for sure that at least a dozen people in the last year have understood Bitcoin and like attributed that to the content that I've put out there. So like that's amazing. If I helped one person, because it's not like you're selling something or you're trying to convince somebody to buy something. Like the way I see it is like, hey, literally like you're about to walk off a cliff and like your bloodline is going to be dead forever. Like it's not just you that's going to die. Like you literally are like, you're killing your entire like generational bloodline. You have one way to save yourself.
Not to be
One way.
dramatic.
Sorry to take it that far. But that's the stakes. Like it's a fight for like human life and souls on such a deep level. It's like giving me chills just thinking about it. Like that's what like 12 people are understanding Bitcoin, or 4 or 2. Like it's insane how important it is to help one person understand Bitcoin. So if you're someone who's like, I don't want to start a podcast because it's only going to be 20 people listening, whatever, like screw that excuse. Like, come on, like you got souls to save. Like, let's go. So I take it very seriously in that way. I try and like remain lighthearted and like not get too in the weeds. But like when you realize just like how we are all born into this system where the whole world's in slavery. That's the way I see it. And we have an opportunity to get out of that for the first time. And so if I die and I have hundreds of millions of dollars in my bank account, I'm rich, I have yachts, and that's a failure for me. Like, and if the world is still on a fiat standard, that's a failure. If we're living on a Bitcoin standard, that sounds pretty sweet. But like for me, the outcome of passing on my wealth to the next generation and they're still living on a fiat standard, they're still being debased, wars are still happening, they're still paying taxes to these pedophiles. Like if all of that is still happening, like I have failed. So, and like all of us have failed. So I think that's why I wanted to ask you about like this idea of like spending Bitcoin versus like actually using Bitcoin, because it's clear right now, like what's happening is the institutions and the powers that be are trying to separate you and me from our Bitcoin. Hey, you can get a loan if you give us your Bitcoin. We'll let you access the liquidity. We'll give you paper. You give us the Bitcoin, and it's all good. If the price of Bitcoin goes up, you're good. You pay the loan. It's all good. But what happens if the price of Bitcoin goes down? Right, like it just did the last year. All these loan products launch. Everyone puts their Bitcoin as collateral into these things. The price of Bitcoin can still be manipulated by big traditional finance companies. Like they have enough money to throw their weight around in the pool and move a $2 trillion market. Like it's not gold. Gold is 20, 30 trillion. They can't move it like that. So you are basically playing a game. If you give up your Bitcoin to someone else, you're playing a game that like you're very likely going to lose your Bitcoin. So I guess I'm all over the place again here, but yeah, that's something like just not your keys, not your coins is such an important thing. But I want to ask you about spending Bitcoin, unless you have something to say about my wild
No,
rant
I
here.
do have something to say
Okay.
about like what you just said,
Okay.
because I agree to a point, but at the same time, I don't really like to pay taxes if I don't have to.
Me too.
So, so the thing is
Yeah.
that like that. So when it comes to diversifying your portfolio, it's not just diversifying the assets in general; it's diversifying where you keep them. So I have obviously self-custodial Bitcoin, which is for like the long run, and I have Bitcoin that I borrow against, and I have Bitcoin that I'm like keeping it on an exchange and I'm playing with it. But like, so the thing is that like at some point you still live in the fiat world, and then you cannot really like pay your bills with Bitcoin. Not yet, to be honest, not yet. But especially now in Hungary, the rules are not really like supporting holding Bitcoin or like keeping cryptocurrencies in general at this point. And especially now they went on like a very strict regulation route. So now we cannot really use the exchanges, or at least like people that are like continuously staying in Hungary or reside in Hungary, it's not easy for them to do any of the exchanges. So for them, borrowing against Bitcoin could be like a good way to go. But I would
Yeah,
advise.
I totally look. I don't mean to judge. Like, I was looking at doing a Bitcoin loan myself just the other day, just to like cover some bills that I have to pay and whatever. It's not like, I guess if you know what you're doing, like in your strategic about like I have my stack here, I'm gonna loan against this amount for these. Like that's all fine and well. Just understand that like long term, like these are all like fiat games. Like I was explaining, these people were talking about like STRC and like all this stuff. It's like, yes, like all that stuff exists like in the transitionary period, but like where we're going, like all this is gone. Like the whole idea of like having, your dividend portfolio, for me, all that stuff is, I don't know, just like kind of fiat games. And it's just, the world's going to change so much. I guess like it kind of, you're going at the angle of the question that I want to ask you, because like there's this transformation that I believe Bitcoiners have, where we not grow up, but like we kind of evolve from like a hodler to like a spender. And it's not about like, how do I explain it? Like I had this realization that like if Bitcoin is really going to become like the money of the world, like it's going to be everyone's using it. It's like how we denominate. It's the unit of account. Um, then it's like I want to live in that world sooner. You know, like I want to spend Bitcoin like around the corner instead of have to travel to Costa Rica. Like, um, yeah. So I personally think it's in my economic interest to spend Bitcoin at merchants who accept Bitcoin, not the ones that convert it back to fiat. I don't really care. I'll use fiat. Um, but to empower those merchants to accept Bitcoin, and as they continue to like accrue their Bitcoin stack and Bitcoin's price goes up, those are the businesses that are going to continue to exist and persist into the future. So that's kind of my angle on it, is like, I think we should spend and then replace. I think that grows. That's like going on offense and building the network. Like holding your Bitcoin is like the defensive strategy. It's like, that's awesome. The more people that hold, the better. But like you can basically like grow this thing by spending it, and also experiencing like how easy it is to use Bitcoin. If you've never bought something with Lightning, it's so fast and so easy, and it's instant final settlement. So when you send like money across a bank, it might look like it's instant settlement, but with Lightning, it's actually like the funds are there and there's no like clawing it back or whatever. So I don't know what you think about like we kind of talked about it, I guess, but just trying to like show people a little bit more about how you can use Bitcoin.
When you mentioned that in Bulgaria, like some of the restaurant owners are happy about euro because they have remittances to settle across borders, and then it's easier for them for their accounting. But it would be way easier if they use Bitcoin. To be honest, I mean, like
Right.
in a Bitcoin.
Yes.
so,
It's so
so
true. I mean, building companies, building apps is way easier in an open source standard. Like if you talk to these guys, like if you've heard of Musket or like people that are building stuff on Nostr, now there's these open source tools. You can just like plug Bitcoin in. And this goes to the whole AI thing that we're seeing, because you're going to want to build on open source standards. Like I am super bullish on Nostr. I don't know are you on Nostr? Have you heard of
no,
Nostr?
no, I'm trying to stay off of social media as much as possible, to be honest.
But have you heard of Nostr before?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So not really social media. It's like a decentralized internet protocol, but it acts in that way. So I get it. I'm not trying to add more social media time to your plate, but I think Nostr is a cool way to use Bitcoin and see like how the internet like infrastructure and design space can change. So yeah, Nostr is an open protocol. You can search in the app store for Primal is one of the apps. The clients is what it's called, but it's application built on top of the protocol, which is Nostr. So if anyone's listening, they're curious, check it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Nostr is interesting, and at the same time, like what's to come is also like owning your data will be like a very important thing to do. And then I mean, like we are kind of, there is like a couple of age or like a couple of years difference between us. So you also grew up with like internet and social media. I also grew up with internet and social media in our hands. So like it's very hard to actually like think about like how people are going to use your pictures that you put out online, or like what's gonna happen with that video that you shared about your family. Or now they are training AI on it, but like who would have thought like 5 years ago when you uploaded something on, I don't know, Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you were using, that they're gonna train it on you, and then they're gonna use the data to sell products to you to engage in escapism more. And then like, oh no, I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's such a
It's
doom
fifth
and gloom.
generation warfare is what we're experiencing. We are living in like an information war. Yeah. And like the battle is actually like happening in your mind, in your heart, in everybody's minds and hearts. Like that's where the battle is happening. So yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's just like I never been the one, with like the tinfoil cap and then, going down in this rabbit holes and everything. And now I'm like prepping to like, what's gonna happen if there is nuclear warfare and these things. Like, it's way too much. I didn't sign up for this. To be honest.
Yeah, hey, none of us signed up for this, right? But I would rather us go through the hard times now. I don't have kids yet, so like I would like to get it done. Like if we're gonna have a huge like world issue, let's get it done. Like, let's get through that. Let's get to the other side. That's how I think about it. But yeah, it's like, it's a conversation I've had with a lot of Bitcoiners in the last year, is like, just owning Bitcoin is not enough to protect you. Like, you're talking about like diversifying, not just which assets you have, but where you hold them. So like geographically distributing them is kind of how to think about that, but also like your personal body, like where are you? That's the most, if you have your money protected with Bitcoin, Tony from the Bitcoin Way is an awesome podcast guest. I could make an introduction. I'm sure he would love to come on. He kind of describes like his whole company is like consulting people to be more sovereign. And so like the first thing is get your money in your own hands. That's Bitcoin. You control your money. Second thing is your physical body. Where are you? Do you have a second passport? Do you have a plan B residency? Do you have a plan to like physically go somewhere? And then the third one is what we're talking about, which is like protecting your data, your online information, all this stuff. So it's what I would encourage people is not to just be like, that's overwhelming, I'm going to give up. Like, oh, my data's already out there. Like, slow down. Like, like recognize like, yes, you did leak a bunch of data. I did. You did. We all did. We didn't know better. Now here we are. What's the best plan forward is to start like making small incremental changes to make sure you're not leaking more data. Like, I've started to realize like I just don't need to like post the location on my Instagram post every time. Like, I just don't need to. It doesn't matter. Like, does it get me 2 more views? Maybe. I don't care. Like, just doesn't need to happen. So like we actually give our data and our location data specifically voluntarily, unnecessarily. So yeah, just like taking ownership of all those different things. And to kind of like wrap it up, I think the idea of like citadels and like Bitcoiners building like communities together, I think is very exciting. I don't know if you've thought about that at all, but yeah, we're way stronger in community. And when you can, let's say your bank gets cut off or the system fails, but you have a neighbor with a bunch of chickens and you know how to do plumbing, and your buddy down the road, his wife does like tutoring for the kids. So now all of a sudden you like have a system in place where like, fuck the government. Like we don't need the government. Like, we don't need the public schools. Like, literally don't need any of it. We have it all within our own capability. So I know a lot of people kind of like moving in that direction, and I would like to as well.
Yeah, we just had a podcast about like Bitcoin citadels, and so there is like, as I said, like Hungarians, we are really like the odd ones, to be honest. It's always like some
Odd.
odd ones, like
Odd ones.
the weirdo ones in the room. For some reason, it's it's a very small country, but compared to how small is the country, like it's 10 million people only. There are like so many Bitcoiners in the space, and so many people are building on Bitcoin. That is like just crazy to see. But at the same time, I mean, you could have seen it like back in the days. There is like this Austrian School of Economics, which is like very close to like what like Bitcoin is aiming to do. So basically, you are being self-sovereign. You are taking your matters into your own hands. You are taking your responsibility to like whatever you do, and then yeah, that whole idea came up during like the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and that was like people working together on these ideas. And then still, I think it's kind of engraved in our society that like, okay, you have a government, but like you can at the end of the day only rely on yourself. And then I think we are discovering that more and more these days. I don't know how I came to this idea now.
No, it's really interesting. I guess my question is like, so there's so many similarities between Bulgaria and Hungary. Do you
Yeah.
think that this like mentality that you're
Similar.
describing is so are you basically saying like this is a big reason why Bitcoin is like more easily understood? Like, is there a connection there?
Yeah, yeah. So like as Eastern Europeans, we experience like this oppression thing so much, and that we cannot rely on anything. And I think with Bulgarians, we share a lot of like similar mindsets. So with like Polish, Bulgarian, Romanian, I think it's all like the communist bloc is kind of like this whole experience is the same. What we have is common sense, and yeah, it's probably easier to see where the world is heading, to be honest, from where we stand.
I fell in love with Bulgaria. It sounds like I'm gonna have to visit you guys and see what's going on there as well. But yeah, I love it. I call it the Mexico of Eastern Europe. And like before you think that's a bad, that's actually like a compliment. My girlfriend's Mexican. I freaking love Mexico. It's so much more beautiful and like developed, and you can live really nicely there. And there's this idea that it's like dirt and cartels. It's like absurd. Um, but Bulgaria is kind of the same way. Like it's beautiful. It's like a little rough, like, you know, maybe it's not like as developed as like Germany or France, but like it's so beautiful in its own way, has incredible nature. It's on the Black Sea. So like you can be in Bulgaria with like your feet on a white sand beach with the sunrise. Like it's magical. And I think Hungary also is on the Black Sea, right?
We are not.
No, in the
No,
inland.
no, we have.
Okay.
Let's not go into
Okay.
the
Sorry.
historical
Sorry.
part, because no. The thing is that, like, yeah, let's not talk about like the Great Hungarian Empire, whatever, like happened back in the.
Yeah. No, I learned a lot about this stuff. They talk about being under like kind of like 500 years of slavery under the Turkish, I believe, or is that the Ottoman Empire? Yeah, and so yeah, we don't learn a lot about that history.
Yeah,
So no,
no,
yeah,
no. There was very, like, in Europe, everything is interconnected. To be honest, like, these countries are like so close to each other. Um, as they were switching kings, like sometimes this country was attached to the other country, and then it became one country, and then yeah. So there are like so many things that happened in the past. I don't know, like
real
hundred
quick, did
years.
you guys experience hyperinflation of your currency after the fall of the Soviet Union?
I don't think that, like, after, like, we did hyper, no, like, in the 20s we had a hyper 20s or 30s we had hyperinflation, but I think that was the last time. We do have a very weird, like, high percentage of inflation, but not as much as, like, I think other countries. But yeah, like, I no, not like in the 20s and 30s where we had to like switch currencies, and then they had to like
Okay.
chop off a couple of zeros.
Yes.
from,
So that's what happened in Bulgaria in 1996. They
Mm.
had hyperinflation of, uh, like 292% in a month and 1,000% in the year. Like they had basically three zeros chopped off their bills at a certain point. And like they had the whole reset of the economic system. Yeah, so that is like very recent, right? So when I'm there, there's one guy in the film. He says like it's crazy how some people have forgotten that this happened. Like we're back to trusting the system. Like our parents experienced hyperinflation. Like we grew up in it, and we still like trust the system. Like it's
Yeah, that was just
even my
abused.
mom, like all the time, like people just trust that the system's going to keep working. And I think Bitcoiners are more like, yo, you don't see, like you're walking off this cliff. So yeah, it's interesting history.
What do you think, like, is the next, like, big shift is going to be how, like, stories are told about, like, technology and culture in general?
I mean, the trend has been towards decentralization. I think the mediums are going to keep expanding. I mean, definitely podcasting is growing. I think just like short form is going to continue winning. Like, I think finding your own like lane. Like, if you're short form content creator, I think there's a avenue to grow that. Like, I think there's so many different ways that it's going to go, and it's going to decentralize. Like, there's right now, I don't know, 50 million people that have Bitcoin, and there's 7.95 billion more people. Like, think about how many more like Bitcoin educators need to like come on board to educate 7 billion more people. Like, so in my mind, I guess I'm saying this, like, it's not saturated. Like there's so much opportunity. How it's going to change, AI is changing everything. I'll tell you that. Everyone asks me like, is AI going to like, change how you do your video job? Like, yes, it is 100%. We're going to be generating video. We're not going to be doing like filming. It's going to be hard to justify going to film something, because why would you pay $5,000 for me to come to Kenya if you can just like get the photos of these people, generate a little thing and have them on a podcast, and then video generate the story? Like, that's the kind of the way we're moving. And I think from like a creator standpoint, like using these tools is the only way forward. So AI tools have like accelerated my post production on my podcast, my ideation, like Starting to do more stuff like actually using agents, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm just like exploring how that works. But I have a bunch of friends that are like posting across more channels, like more effectively, just expanding their ability to like create content as well. So kind of an all over the answer. What do you think? How are things changing?
Well, I think we're gonna like slowly shift back towards printed media at some point because it's so easy to generate anything with like AI at this point that like it's not gonna be credible. So even if like now we are having a conversation, but like based on your setup and everything, I cannot tell you if you're AI or not.
Can't see, I'm in my bedroom right now.
No,
My
but
podcast studio we have a guest staying in the house. I usually use the guest room, but yeah, it's true. I mean, how are you going to verify if this is a real conversation in 5 years? It'll just be indistinguishable. Yeah. And I agree 100%. There is going to be a revival of physical things, of theater, performances, crafts, like people that can work with their hands, like all those things are going to be skills that AI cannot do. And therefore and I think people are going to value them because it's going to be easy. You can buy iPhone 23 for $200 or whatever, but like, can you get a one of one Bitcoin glass handmade cup? Look at that with the Bitcoin logo on the bottom. My
oh
roommate's a
wow.
glass blower, so he makes custom like Bitcoin art and stuff like that. So yeah, I think you're onto something there. And so that's kind of a bet you guys are making. You're like, hey, we want to make a physical in person or like a print magazine or print newspaper.
Well, at some point we might, to be honest, but like right now we don't have a funding for that. So in case anyone wants to fund that, please guys just let us know, and then we would happily do that. To be honest, or do like
Have you heard of Geyser?
No,
Geyser crowdfunding?
no, not
It's
yet.
a Bitcoin crowdfunding platform. We used it for our documentary. You can basically like, put your project on there and people will, donate. There's a couple different formats you can do it. We raised like through Geyser, like $5,000 of Bitcoin. And outside of Geyser, like we had a anonymous like whale donate and just support the project for like another 10 grand. So potentially, I mean, I could also put you in contact with the publishing house with George Monilov. He's produced not just like nice hardcovers, but like, I don't have it up here, but like paperback books that are more like magazine style that are much, much cheaper and easier to produce. So,
Oh, that
yeah,
would be
yeah.
actually nice. And also, I would be interested in if we could list those Bitcoin cups on our shop.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah. I'll ship them out. I'll ship them wherever. Yeah. Yeah. Each one is a one of one. So like once you buy this, like it's gone, there's only one of them. But yeah, absolutely. Love that. Even like the hat.
actually, to be honest, like I would love to have that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I know the guy who made it as well, so I can get more.
So, Kyle, is there anything that we haven't talked about during a podcast that you think like our listeners should actually hear about today?
No, I think look, I started my podcast like everywhere, like Satoshi gifted us Bitcoin so we can bring our gifts to the world. It's kind of cliche, yes, but I believe the fiat system has ruined so many lives and made so many people trade their dreams and their goals to chase the fiat dragon to provide for their family, make those decisions. I get it. Bitcoin gives you the opportunity to do both, to provide for the next generation and also to live a meaningful life. And I think now is the time. Get in the game. Like 2026, in my opinion, is the year of using Bitcoin. I think people are going to rally around. Like once you can go down the street and spend your Bitcoin at the coffee shop, like um, you have no excuse. So like I think the big thing this year. Definitely Prague conference is leading that as well. It's one of the biggest conferences in the world. So yeah, just that's be my final words is like, we are all Satoshi. No individual is going to like change the whole world, but like if each of us sees the mission and puts some time and energy in this direction, all of us together can have like a crazy, tremendous impact and we can free ourselves from slavery.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for this meaningful conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you, and hopefully, we're going to see your documentary in May. So, if you could send us the article that you mentioned before, I would love to put that in our description as well. And then, where can people find you if they want to follow your content or what's like your work or check out like
Thank
what you
you.
do?
Yes, YouTube, We Are Satoshi. If you type that in, We Are Satoshi Pod, I believe. I'm on Twitter, the Kyle Huber, just my name, Kyle Huber with THE in front of it. And Noster, Kyle Huber at primal.com, primal.net. Yeah. And I also have a website, it's just kylehuber.com. Way too much. Just keep making stuff yourself, and when the film comes out, maybe you can share it, and I would appreciate the support. I'm making it so we can not ask people to donate or to like invest in Bitcoin. It's not like, it's like we really want to give people an experience. Like that's the goal. So the film is going to be exciting, outside in nature, talking to lots of different people. It's going to be completely different than any Bitcoin documentary that I've ever seen, for sure. And hopefully gives people an experience where they, at the end, they're like, wow, like that was value. Like, okay, cool. Like they didn't even ask me to buy Bitcoin. Like I'm just here, really cool experience. The Bitcoin standard life looks really cool. Maybe I want to be a part of it. That's if we can get that, that would be a huge win. So yes, thank you for the space to share. And I appreciate so much your questions, and wish you the best coming forward. I'd love to have you on my podcast at some point as well.